Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. The show originally aired on the Premiere Network on Sunday, July 21st, 2019. This is episode 1611. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by DoorDash. DoorDash connects you to your favorite restaurants in your city. Now you can get $5 off your first order of $15 or more when you download the DoorDash app and enter the promo code TechGuy. And by Simply Safe. Simply Safe protects your whole home with 24/7 monitoring for just a fraction of the cost. Visit simplysafe.com/twit for free shipping and a 60-day risk-free trial. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Yeah, it's time to talk computers and the internet and home theater and digital photography and smartphones and smartwatches and all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo is the phone number if you want to talk high-tech with me. I'd love to talk high-tech with you. 888-827-5536. That's toll-free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Outside that area, you can still talk. We can talk. Don't feel left out. If you're in the Netherlands, you just use Skype out, and you can call 8888 Ask Leo. That's a toll-free number, so it shouldn't cost you anything to use Skype out. Website, techguylabs.com. That's where we put everything we talk about on the show. I put links up there. James DeRuvo is in the house. He's writing like crazy and taking notes. And after the fact, we even put audio and video from the show in there. So it's free. There's no sign up, nothing to do. Just go to, just like the internet used to be in the good old days. Just go to techguylabs.com. Let's see what's going on. Face app. I suppose I should mention this because it's been all the news. Even the Democratic National Committee warned candidates for president in 2020 not to use Face app. And Senator Schumer, the Senate Minority Leader, he did a tweet, said, whatever you do, just remember it goes to Russia. Yeah. It's like they weren't paying attention for the last, 10 years or so. Is your, let me just ask, maybe you know, is your picture on Facebook? Is your picture on Twitter? If you used Instagram, is there a picture of you on Instagram? I think the Russians have our pictures by now, honestly. The FaceApp folks, it's a Russian developer. He worked at Microsoft for years in Seattle. In fact, he got the idea for the whole thing while he was working up in Seattle. He says, well, I don't actually, the pictures have to go to a server because there's a lot of work that has to be done. But we don't send it to Russia. It just goes to Amazon and Google. There's their web services, and we're not storing them. Now, it doesn't mean he's not doing that. Could be. We'd have no way of knowing. Could happen. Yes, it could. Don't know. Could be sending them to Russia. But honestly, if the Russians really want to know what you look like, they probably have other ways of getting your picture. And incidentally, if you're a candidate for president in 2020, I think you've been on TV a little bit. They have TV in Russia. They do. They have TV. Some people were concerned because the license agreement for FaceApp. FaceApp is this. Maybe you don't even know what I'm talking about, do you? See, ask a 13-year-old. He knows what FaceApp is because no, you don't. Well, you're not cool with it. Obviously, you're too serious. But the youngs know because it's this app. It came out 2 years ago. It came out in 2017. You know because you've seen people on Instagram and Facebook put pictures of themselves up looking really old, or guys putting pictures of themselves up looking like girls, and girls putting pictures up looking like guys, and makeup and different hairstyles and stuff. You've seen these pictures, and FaceApp is that it uses artificial intelligence to take your picture. You send it a selfie, and it's actually really fun. Although I did the old thing, and I scared the heck out of myself. The only good, really, I'm going to look like that. The only good thing about the old thing is that when I then looked at myself, I looked young. Really, I said, "Wow, I'm looking young." Compared to that. It's a fun little program. But people were worried because the license, and it's gone viral again. So that's why I thought maybe people would be seeing this. And it went, it's like this has been out for 2 years, but suddenly Senator Schumer discovered it suddenly. But the thing is, the license agreement says we own your image forever in all media forever. We will never have to pay you. We can give it to anybody. We're going to sign it. But what you got to understand how lawyers think. It's some lawyer, probably an American lawyer, because in Russia I don't think they have to tell you anything. In Russia, they own pictures. They don't care. But here in America, we have these privacy rules, and they have to do this. And so the lawyers, they just write the broadest possible language. Because why not? We own it. We can do anything we want with it. We owe you nothing. Because why not? Then if they do anything, you don't have to, you got no recourse. It doesn't actually indicate intent to do that. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But I wouldn't worry about it. People say, well, it has access to your personal photos. Let me ask you something. Every time you use a program to take Instagram, for instance, what does it ask you? It says, do I have permission to look at your personal photos? Let's not forget that Facebook just got fined $5 billion for sending all of our data to a company called Cambridge Analytica, which then sent it to Russia. So I'm telling you, they already have it. They already got it. Don't worry about it. If you want to use FaceApp, go ahead. I don't think it's completely harmless. It's no more harmless than everything else you've been doing all this time. Here's a good rule of thumb. I've been saying this for a while, but I just want to reiterate it. If you're putting it on the internet, you're making it public. Even if you don't think so, even if you've been given every assurance by the company that they will in no way spy on you, you're putting it. If you're putting it on the internet, you're putting it public. Just don't forget that. And if you don't want your picture, an image of your face. Now, the reason people are more concerned about this, of course, is becoming much more aware of how your face is being used against you. So I understand this. This is relatively new news. Face recognition technology. Cities all over the country are using it. Great piece. You can read it on the Motherboard pages on Vice, motherboard.vice.com, about Palantir, which is a program, private company, but a program used by law enforcement all over the world. In fact, I was talking to somebody from Interpol the other day. So, we love the Palantir. It's great. Palantir is software. It's database software that puts together data from all the databases it can. DMV. Oh, yeah, they have your picture too, don't they? Law enforcement, public records, Instagram, anything that they can get their hands on. They have some safeguards in place if you want to see and by the way, by connecting all the dots there, it becomes a very useful tool for the police. If you're official law enforcement, you have to prove it on Palantir, they say. You type in somebody's name, it'll give you his picture, it'll give you fingerprints, but the kind of thing you see on the TV shows, but it also give you a current address, credit card numbers, phone, everything the internet knows. Palantir's put it together and packaged it up for both law enforcement and private industry. And face recognition. The next time certain airports, not every airport, it's going to be every airport, going to be soon. When you go to like Delta in, let's say JFK, you don't have to show them your driver's license anymore or anything. You just walk. We know you. Walk right through because they are doing face recognition. They have a database of images from Border Patrol, DMV, and other places, and they're doing the face recognition because it makes us all safer. There are some issues with face recognition. A lot of the artificial intelligence used in this is trained on a subset. You have to train it on people, on pictures, and unfortunately, in many cases, it's trained on a subset of pretty much just white people. So it doesn't work very well on people of color. It works better on men than women because there's more men in the database. The training used in these face recognition programs is often bad. And as a result, it sometimes has false positives. In fact, in some cases, a lot of false positives, and particularly of people of color. So you have a higher chance of getting fingered for something you didn't do if you're African American. Well, that's not so good. 3 cities so far have banned the use of face recognition by government in the United States. San Francisco, Oakland, and Somerville, Mass. But I think more will. I think there's some concern about this. So maybe you put that together. That's in the news lately with this face app, and maybe there is some cause for concern. It's hard to change your face, hard to change your fingerprint, your DNA, your irises. When you hand those over to a public or private entity, it's like giving them your social security number. It's giving them a unique identifier. Maybe we should be concerned. But I think for most of us, and certainly if you're a candidate for president in 2020, it's probably a little too late. 8888 Ask Leo. We could talk about that. Anything on your mind. 8888 Ask Leo. I'm here to cut through the fog and get into the smog. 8888 Ask Leo. The phone number, 888-827-5536. Website, techguylabs.com. Yes, let's talk high tech right after this. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Kimmy Schaffer.
Good morning.
Kimmy, don't take no Schaffer. Hello, Kimmy.
What's happening?
Do people give you Schaffer on the phone?
Very rarely.
Very rarely.
Very, very rarely.
You know, yesterday, I don't know
this.
if you heard, somebody said how much he liked you.
I missed it. I was in talking to Colleen when that happened. I saw it in the chat room. Somebody said something about a shout out, but I missed it.
I believe we record this show.
I think we do, yeah.
So you might be able to go back and check the tape.
But I have told you many times before, this is the most legitimate... And now I'm going to get all the crank callers today because I'm saying it.
We don't get the nut
But we just don't
callers.
usually get very many nut
People don't
calls.
call in and go, Baba Booey,
Yeah,
or anything like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that or the John Lennon guy. The famous ones. You do hear those every once in a while when you listen to certain radio
The
stations.
John Lennon guy is a San Francisco specialty. Here's something about San Francisco that attracts kooks. It always has. There was a guy in the 1900s, maybe it was the late 1800s, Emperor Norton. You can look him up.
Okay.
He was the emperor of San Francisco, and what was cool is everybody played along with Emperor Norton. They go, oh yeah, here comes the emperor. He had a whole emperor outfit.
Well, I'm still giggling over last week's news that Berkeley's no longer going to have manholes. They're going to have maintenance holes.
Maintenance holes. They got rid of all the gender. They gender neutralized everything. I don't know what other.
There is a point where political correctness goes too far.
I don't have a problem with them calling them maintenance holes. I don't have a problem with that. Do you have a problem with that? I think that's fine.
Whatever.
If they called them woman holes, that might be weird.
It would be very weird.
So I think that in manholes, now that you say it, sounds kind of strange too.
I guess it's sexist, but
And you don't want to call them human holes. So maybe they should have gotten rid of the hole entirely. Just call it like maintenance access
cover
roots. Personal maintenance access.
Yeah, I don't know.
Devices. Openings. That's not going to work either. I think anyway. I don't have a problem with it. Honestly, it's fine. Why call them manholes? That's kind of weird. Maintenance portals. That's what they should have called them.
But they should have started that a long time ago. Why didn't try and change it now?
They didn't know a long time ago. They thought there was a difference between men and women.
Yeah, because women didn't work.
In the old days, it was just for men. No women allowed in there. Guys would go down in the manholes just to get away. They'd sit down there.
Is their hiding space?
Sit around in their boxer shorts playing poker. That's what they would do down there.
The original man cave.
That's why they were called manholes. People don't understand. Times have changed. Who should I talk to?
How about David in Escondido? He's going to be a lot more
yes.
educational. You like Linux, right?
I love Linux.
He wants to talk to you about Linux.
Oh, good. Thank goodness. Something
Line 4.
serious. Thank you, Kimmy. Hello, David.
Leo, how are you? Long-time listener. Thanks for taking my call back.
Oh, I'm so
I think I've been watching and listening to you since the 90s, way back in the 90s.
The 90s. I've been doing this since the 90s, so it's conceivable.
Yeah.
Things have changed a little since the 90s. It was Windows 3.1.1 when I started doing this. DOS 5.
I go back to DOS, DR DOS.
DR DOS, remember that? Yeah.
Yeah. But here's the thing. I had a HP Stream 14 that I was about to donate, and then I kept listening to you about Pop OS, and thinking, well, this machine can't be upgraded beyond the 2 gigs of RAM that it has. You know what? I'm going to give Pop OS a shot.
Yeah, the Stream is HP's version of a Windows Chromebook. And you're going to we can expect to see more of these, which are very low cost, low spec computers, just very simple. Okay. Did you try it?
I did. I love it.
It worked.
It did. It did. I have one annoying problem. Okay. So it defaults, or I think the default browser was Mozilla.
Yeah, it's Firefox. Yeah, it comes with Firefox.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, for Firefox, right. I've tried also Chromium for Linux. I've also tried even Opera. My problem is I don't know if 2 gigs of RAM is enough to power the browser, because especially when I go to load Gmail, oh my gosh, it will freeze my touchpad for a minute or two.
Yeah, it's thinking.
Yeah, it is. So I don't know if there's a browser or something I could substitute for Gmail that would not lock up the touchpad every time I want to browse the internet.
Yeah. So, how did the Stream work with Windows? Was it sluggish?
Yes, it came with 8.1, and it was not upgradable to Windows 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's slow powered.
So Pop OS, I should mention, is a derivative or a distribution of the Linux operating system. It's free, widely available, very good. It's what I use on all my machines now because it seems to work with the broadest range of hardware. But there are Linuxes that are designed to be lightweight for lower and slower machines. Pop OS is not one of them. It's a spin on Ubuntu. I'm not going to say change it because you'll probably be all right. I'll give you some tips. But there is a low and slow version of Ubuntu called Xubuntu that is designed for low memory machines, low processor machines. Yours should be fast enough. Couple of things. One, the desktop environment that is typically used with a lot of Linuxes and with Pop OS is called GNOME, G-N-O-M-E. I'm going to pronounce it GNOME from now on, but just to be clear, it's GNOME. And actually, I like saying GNOME. GNOME is a little heavyweight. So another thing you could do is put a different desktop environment on there. XFCE is very lightweight. That's what Xubuntu comes with. There are also
I have KDE. KDE.
That's also pretty heavyweight. But GNOME also offers a web browser, Epiphany, which is a very lightweight browser you might want to try. There are other lightweight browsers designed for this because a lot of Linux users are on older, slower machines. I bet you could find something that'll work. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Thanks so much, Leo.
Yeah, I'm not. I just had to end because of that, but I could talk some more.
Okay.
There is if you really want a fast browser. The problem is all of these I'm going to tell you aren't going to work as well as Chromium. Because their standards are like there's Lynx, which is a text-based browser, completely text-based. So you can sudo app install LYNX and try it, but it's text-based, so it's going to be kind of funky. But it is lightweight. It's fast. Chromium. I'm surprised Chromium did not work for you. Firefox is maybe the lightest of the big browsers.
It came down to I can load the browsers. It's the Gmail that once that Gmail starts to load, I went from 50 emails per page to 25.
Yeah.
I even went to their basic view as opposed to the HTML.
And that's why they have it. Yeah, that's why they have it. The thing is, it really is a web app. In fact, Gmail was the first web app most people ever saw, and is a lot of JavaScript running. It's really a big program. The other thing you can do is use one of the I think it comes with a built-in mail program.
It does.
You can set that up to work with Gmail. That would be much faster because what it would do is download the Gmail.
Right.
and then run it locally, and that would be infinitely faster and totally usable. So you might try that.
I'll give that a try. And what was the name of that one browser you said came with X and Ubuntu, I think?
Yeah.
Trying to,
what did I say? I can't even remember. Oh, it's the Genome Browser. It's called Epiphany. Actually, I think it might just be called Web. You might even have it. You could do probably. Let me see how you install it. Yeah, it's Epiphany-browser. EPIPHANY. That's using now. The thing about Epiphany is it uses WebKit, which means you're going to look like you're coming in on Safari, which means you'll probably be compatible with every modern site.
Okay, that sounds good to me. I thought I would perk you up by actually asking you.
You did cheer me up.
Linux.
You did. You noticed how gleefully I jumped on the question. Yeah. Thank you. You're very thoughtful. I appreciate it. Thanks, David.
Thanks,
have a great day.
Great day.
Take care.
You too.
Bye
bye.
Hello, lowrider. Sam Abuelsamid. He is the car guy on the Tech Guy Show, principal researcher at Navigant Research. And he joins us every week to talk about driving and the modern technology of driving. These days, cars are really just almost no user serviceable parts inside, right? I remember in my first car, I could.
There's user serviceable. Well, there are serviceable modules.
Yeah,
there are a lot of parts that can
you
be
still
removed
tune
and
a car
replaced.
up? You could tune your Miata up.
No.
Probably. No.
I can do some on that. Most of the stuff that we used to consider tuning up a car, like setting the timing.
Yeah, I used to do do that. Had a little meter.
Changing spark advance.
Yeah.
That stuff is not there anymore because everything's got electronically controlled spark now. You usually have a separate ignition coil for each cylinder. So that sort of thing we can't do anymore. Even on the Miata, by the end of the 1980s, most of that stuff was gone off of most cars.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And
so I have to go back to my friend Richard's TR7 to do something like that.
Yeah, I had a Volkswagen. And there was a great book with lots of cartoons on how to service your own Volkswagen. It was really a classic.
There's lots of books on servicing VWs. They were pretty easy to work on.
So what do you want to talk about today in our modern car world?
Couple of things. First, I wanted to touch on something later in the show last week after I was on. One of your callers had a comment about the cost of DC fast charging and how much he had paid for DC fast charging. He was surprised at how expensive it was.
He said it was as expensive as gasoline would have been.
Yeah, probably not that much. It depends. It depends on what you're doing.
Right.
DC fast charging is always going to be more expensive than charging at a level 2 240 volt station, because in order to supply that high rate of current and high voltage, there has to be enough electrical capacity going into that station. And this is one of the issues that Tesla has faced with the supercharger stations. Why they've cut back on offering the free supercharging with every new car you buy. That they've eliminated that for the most part, because it does get very expensive. The utilities that are supplying the electricity for those DC fast charging stations have to build in enough capacity to meet the peak load demand. And you've talked about this in other circumstances, like the online video game streaming service OnLive a few years ago. You talked about that. They had to build out the capacity for the peak load, but a lot of the times it gets underutilized. And the same thing happens with DC fast charging. So there's significantly extra cost associated with that. There's ways to reduce that cost. If you're only using DC fast charging once in a while, if you're mostly charging at home or your work or somewhere else, and you only need to charge up once in a while, you're probably going to pay a little extra to do it a la carte. But if you're doing it on a regular basis, if you've regularly got a long trip that you're taking, one of the things you can do, most of the network providers like Electrify America and ChargePoint and EVgo offer sort of subscription plans where you pay a certain fee a month, and it's usually somewhere around $8 or $9 a month, maybe a little bit less. And what they typically do is if you're paying a la carte, most of these places will usually charge you a connection fee when you first hook up your car. And in case of EVgo, I've paid as much as $5 for a connection fee just to plug in and get the charging started. And then they charge you, here in Michigan, it's about 35 cents a minute for charging. But if you sign up for one of their plans, if you're going to use it regularly, they waive the connection fee and they charge you a lower per minute charge. And that monthly fee gets applied as a credit towards your charging rates. So if you're paying, say, 30 cents a minute, after about 25 minutes, you're going to use up that $8 a month, and then everything after that, you're just paying that additional 30 cents a minute. So if you're going to charge on a regular basis at DC Fast Charging, see which network you're going to use, and sign up for one of their plans, and it's usually a lot more affordable that way.
Okay.
Okay. So that's
a subscription to my energy. That's kind of a cool idea.
Yeah, well,
they have to pay for the chargers and everything.
Yeah, they have to pay for the hardware and the electricity.
Why don't some of these chargers use solar power? Is that impractical?
Some of them do, and some of them, they're supplementing with solar power. The problem is you're not going to get enough power in real time. If you're going to do solar, you also have to have a big bank of batteries.
Right.
And even for chargers that are taking power off the grid, increasingly they're using battery power banks. In fact, Electrify America, for a lot of their stations, they've got a contract with Tesla. They're buying Tesla power banks,
which are basically the battery packs from a Tesla car, packaged up.
Packaged, and just putting a big bank of batteries right next to the chargers. And what those are doing is charging up from the grid at a lower rate, so you don't have to use as much capacity from the grid, so there's fewer demand charges, which you have for commercial users of electricity.
It makes sense. Also, you got to be in an area where there's a lot of sun. The Vegas supercharging station has, because they're in the desert, has so it's the roof of the supercharger basically.
Yeah, and even if you're even in a place like that, you're still going to have a big battery bank to store that energy. If somebody wants to charge at night or in the evening, obviously you're not going to have enough power for that high power charge.
My wife asked me this. I think I know the answer. Why don't electric cars have solar panels on their roofs?
Mainly because if you look at how big the roof of your car is, it's not that big. You're not going to get very much power out of it.
Drive around with a big wing.
That's one. And the roof of your car is not always, in fact, most of the time, is not going to be at the right angle to the sun to get the maximum amount of power out of it. Yeah. When you put solar panels on the roof of your house, they adjust those, to try to get optimum angle. Yeah, because the power you get out of solar panels depends a lot on the angle of incidence, the angle that the rays of sunlight are hitting that panel. If they're at a high angle of incidence, you're not going to get as much power out of the panels. And the car could be at any angle at any given moment of time, so you're not really going to get enough power out of it to be useful for driving.
You do see solar panels. I remember the Fisker, which was crazy car, had a solar panels, and my old Audi A8 had a solar panel, but I think it was just for the fan in the car.
Yeah. So Toyota's done it. They've offered it on the Prius at various times. Fisker had it. Audi's had it. Some other manufacturers have used smaller solar panels to run the ventilation. Yeah. When you're sitting there parked, you can run the ventilation fans to vent some of that hot air out, which is the other thing that I wanted to talk about. We can come back to that one next week since we're running low on time. But yeah, in general, you're not going to get enough power out of it to be able to power the car unless you're doing something like these solar racers, like they have these solar challenges.
Yeah, but how fast those cars move?
Not very fast, and they're very small. You typically they're done by university teams, and they pick the lightest member, smallest, lightest member of the team to fit in this little package.
You drive like 3 miles an hour. It's like a little clown car.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. For normal use, you're not going to get enough power out of it to power a car.
Yeah.
Unless your car is sitting for a month at a time, and you're driving it.
One other crazy thing. So, subways and monorails and stuff are powered from the track. Would it ever be conceivable that you could have a road that would power the cars that are running on it?
Yeah, I mean, there is work being done on wireless charging, inductive charging, to have charging built into the road
So
infrastructure.
you wouldn't get electrocuted. It wouldn't be harmful to humans, but the car could get some juice as it's driving.
It would if you were lying under the car and
Don't lie under your car. Okay.
Charging pad, yeah.
Okay.
But then there's other issues with that too. So you probably don't want to do that.
Sam, he's always a beacon of intelligent action here at the show. Sam Abuelsamid. He is a car guy, principal researcher at Navigant Research, and joins us every week to help me understand how these complicated beasts run. Thank you, Sam. Great to have you.
Talk to you next week, Leo.
Or just at intersections. Somebody said, while you're sitting at an intersection, just a little charge, a little juice.
Yeah, well, that's actually one of the areas where they're doing that is with transit buses, electric transit buses, and putting high-power inductive charging pads at bus stops. So when the bus is stopped at a bus stop for a couple of minutes, then it can throw some charge back into the battery and extend the range of the bus. So that's the sort of application where they're looking at it. Dynamic charging, when the vehicle's on the move, is more challenging from a technical standpoint. They're working on that too. But the infrastructure cost there, it gets really expensive, and the maintenance costs. Yep.
Our James DeRufo sent me this video of solar freaking roadways, and these are just look like regular roads, but they're not intended to charge cars, but they can but they can collect. I mean, we got a lot of roadways, right? And they're absorbing a lot of. They're black. They're absorbing a ton of energy from the sun. Why not turn them into something useful?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the challenge there is durability. When you've got especially very heavy vehicles, big trucks, big buses running over them, making it durable enough to last an extended period of time. While still being able to produce enough power to be useful. Right.
It's an interesting world. I saw that Kenya. I guess it's pretty windy in Kenya, but they hope in the next couple of years to be in 100% renewable energy in that country.
Yeah, there's a lot of countries that are moving heavily in that direction.
Like that
Germany is very heavily reliant on solar, or especially wind, but also solar.
See a lot of wind turbines in Germany.
Yep.
Yeah, they used to have a ton of nuclear plants. They've decommissioned them all.
Most of them. There's still some. There's still a few running, but they're getting down there.
That's the plan anyway. Decommission them all.
Yeah, within the next 5 or 10 years, I think they'll all be gone.
Yeah. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. If you have a question, a comment, a suggestion, you want to talk high tech, let's talk about it right now. Line 4, Yvonne, Homosassa. Am I saying that right? Homosassa, Florida.
Yes.
Homosassa. I like that. Hi, Yvonne.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you. I listen to you every Saturday, sometimes Sundays.
Thank you. I'm so grateful.
And I am not the least bit techie. So
by now, though, you're starting to get there, aren't you?
A little bit. It took me a couple months to decide. I said, well, maybe I'm going to call Leo about.
Oh, good.
Question.
Oh, good. No question is too simple because I'm a simple person.
Oh, good.
I prefer the simple questions, to be honest with you. So what can I do for you?
Okay, well, I want to replace my expensive cable TV, and I've been told about Roku, and we have 2 smart TVs.
You already have smart TVs, so you understand.
No, I don't use.
Okay.
I don't use any of the smart.
Roku is basically for a TV that doesn't have smart features. It adds to any TV internet connectivity and then apps. It's a little computer that is designed just to play back television.
Oh, okay.
So you could put apps on it. They have a little Roku store, and of course they have the obvious, Netflix and Amazon Prime. They have a lot of weird stuff, too. They have literally thousands of channels available for Roku. The only channel you don't get on Roku is Apple iTunes. So if you buy or rent TV and movies from Apple, you probably would want to get an Apple TV, which is similar to a Roku, but has Apple. If you don't care about Apple, a Roku is a really good choice. I'm going to give you another choice. There are a number of companies like TCL, that's what I got from my mom, that have a Roku built into the TV, which I think is a very good way of making a TV smart TV. The smart TVs you already have, probably Samsung or Vizio.
Vizio.
Yeah, Vizio. They're fine, but they're smart in smart TVs usually isn't that smart. And they don't update the apps. And after a while, the smart TV is, you're not missing anything. The Roku keeps itself up to date automatically and stuff like that. It doesn't. It's a little bit better for that kind of thing.
Okay, but how do you get then the basic?
So now you're talking about something called cord cutting, which is sticking it to the man, getting rid of that cable subscription and getting everything through the internet. I'll give you another bit of jargon they use to describe that is over the top. You're getting it, which is a terrible phrase, but you're getting it over the top of the internet. It's coming in over the internet instead of through the television subscription service you get with your cable. There's a problem with that, which is who you get your internet from. You can't not get internet and do this, right? Do you get your internet from the cable company?
Yeah, we do right now.
Yeah. So first of all, you aren't cutting the cord. All you're doing is stopping the TV subscription. And when you do that, the cable company say, oh, well, in that case, we're going to charge you more for the internet.
Right.
Because they want their money, honey. So not as much as you pay. My cable bill, including TV, is really pricey. It's gone up and up and up.
Yes.
So you should find out what just the internet would cost. Typically, it's about $60 a month. That might save you some money. But then, do you like HBO?
No, you know what? We don't have any of the premium.
Oh, nice.
We have no premium channels, and it's still like, I don't know, 208.
Yeah. I hate them.
but we do have the internet with that.
Yeah. So if you subtract the TV, you have to see how much that saves you. It'll save you some. But the reason I asked about HBO is because then you tend to pay subscriptions for the other stuff you're going to get anyway. Netflix is $11 a month or $12 now. They raised it. Amazon, if you have an Amazon a Prime subscription, that's the best deal in TV because they have a lot of stuff for free. HBO, Showtime, Stars, all the premium channels will let you use your Roku, but you'll pay them. Your real question, though, I can sense, is how do I watch my Homosassa TV channels?
Yes, I'm the locals.
Channel 2 and 4 and 3 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. And that's an interesting question, and it really depends. In some cases, there are over-the-top services in some markets. Are you near the big city?
The biggest, we are an hour from Tampa.
Do you watch the Tampa stations?
Yeah, we do get Tampa stations.
Okay.
Yes.
So those are the stations you'd probably want as the Tampa stations, Tampa St. Pete?
Yes.
Yeah. So Sony has something called PlayStation Vue. Sling has Sling TV. Google has YouTube TV. These are over-the-top TV services. And in many cases, they will include probably in your area the Tampa St. Pete stations.
Okay.
So you'll have to check. My favorite is YouTube TV. It's got a DVR built in. It's about $40 a month, though. So you subtracted TV, but now you're adding it back in through another provider. There is also, and I don't know how long this will last but you could try this on your internet. There is a company now, it's kind of weird, that offers for free broadcast TV. Yeah, and that's kind of odd because I don't know exactly if it's legal or what. Number of companies have tried to do this for some time. But you could see if you can get it in your area. It will depend on your area. It's geographic restricted. And that is Locast, LOCAST, locast.org. But you can just go there and see. They ask for a donation, which is weird. When you go to locast.org, it'll say, well, we need location access because they're going to figure out what market you're in. I don't think it does. In fact, I'm looking. No, it doesn't do anywhere in Florida. So it's a nonprofit because it legally has to be. Does San Francisco, Los Angeles, Eastern Seaboard, Denver, Dallas, and Houston, but it doesn't. I don't see anything in. Unfortunately, I don't see anything in Florida. But for other people listening, that's another way you could maybe get your locals. It sounds like you're going to have to pay for it. You're going to have to get it through a service like Sling TV or YouTube TV or PlayStation View. There's many, many more.
Well, I just want to understand, when you said that you don't need Roku if you have a smart TV.
Yeah, that's basically the same thing. The idea is, how do I get internet content into my TV? In the old days, the TV didn't have an internet connection. Your smart TV has Wi-Fi. It might even have an Ethernet jack. So you can, as you know, if you ever use it, if you press the menu button on your remote, it'll launch a menu of channels, and you can add other channels. It'll certainly have Netflix at least.
Okay. Well, I need to then get to that smart TV and
see what it does.
Yeah.
Roku is better, and Roku is $100 or less. The most fancy Roku is $100. Mm-hmm. And Roku, I think, is better than any smart TV out there, except for with the one exception of some of the TVs that now put Roku in it. But your Vizios don't. Well, maybe they might. Actually, some of the newer Vizios I think do. So check to see what the smart TV is. Okay. All right.
Thank you very much.
I thank you for calling. I think it's a great question. I know a lot of people want to do it. It isn't often more economical. It might end up being kind of a push between paying the cable company to do it and then subscribing to these services and putting it together yourself. But it is a little satisfying to call the cable company. Says, I won't be needing your services, sir. I shall no longer need your services. Oh, except for the internet. If you'll leave the internet, that'd be great. They know that, by the way. They're ready for that. That's why the prices have been going up. They know exactly what's going on. They're no fools. And so they're going to raise the internet prices bit by bit until they pretty much make the same amount of money. What can you do? What can you do? 8888 Ask Leo. The phone number. Well, let's take a little break. News at the top of the hour. We'll come back. Take more calls in just a little bit. Leo Laporte. My Tesla is not in for repair. I'm sad to say my Tesla is there forever. The lease ran out. I lost my Tesla. So Reverb Mike, you were able to get your cable bill down $100 by taking the TV stuff off. That's about what I'd say. But then it adds up because Netflix, $12. Let's not count Amazon Prime. I'd get that anyway. I buy Showtime, HBO, because I like those shows. You might buy Hulu. If you buy, as soon as you add YouTube TV, it's $40. Kind of ends up costing money. Yeah, it creeps up, doesn't it? How you doing? Everybody okay? Surviving? Silent? It's hard, I know, because you probably want to jump in and say, Leo, you're wrong.
I want to talk to why he's interested here.
Isn't that cool? He's here for his 13th birthday. Isn't that cool? You're going to be in 7th or 8th this fall? 8th. Are you excited?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty soon high school.
I know.
Then he's driving, Mom.
I know. I'm scared. I called when he was 10.
You called me? Cody! You're that Cody?
Without telling anybody, he called you.
I know you, Cody. I remember talking to you. I've talked to you more than once, right? Or no, just once?
I don't know. You told me.
Cody knows. He calls all the time, Mom. You don't know?
Probably.
He's always calling. And we talked about, I forgot, programming?
Yeah, the second time, I think.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was a second.
Oh, yeah, Cody and I go way back. We talk all the time.
Cody.
No, Cody's great. You're lucky you got a super smart kid. You know that.
I'm lucky to have him. For
You know that. Yeah.
can't keep up.
Do you have any brothers or sisters? It's just you.
One brother.
One brother. Where the heck is he?
Well, we decided that Dad and Carson would. Well, they're also polar opposites, so he would not be in.
It's a mom and son day.
We thought that it would be more focused on him for our birthday.
Nice.
He's been asking to come to Petaluma for.
Is Carson your big brother or little brother? Little. Boring. Boring little brother. No.
He's more into cars and trucks and trains.
How old is he though?
10.
See, you got into computers when you were 10. Yeah. I forgot. Did we talk about Minecraft? What did we talk about? I can't remember. I remember talking to you. In fact, I think the chat room probably remembers Cody because you were like a star. Everybody was talking about you that day.
The first one I know was about our getting a mesh system
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I do. Did you get your Wi-Fi all set up?
The Wi-Fi's better. The internet is still horrible.
Well,
We have like a microwave that we have.
oh yeah. That's bad. You live in the country?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's no cable and DSL doesn't work so well. Yeah.
Cable company said that we could pay them $11,000
Yeah.
to run Linux.
When I lived in the country, yeah, they said, well, it's $5,000 for 100 feet or whatever. It was like, oh, come on. So it's not worth it. The microwaves are, but probably clouds, rain, wind, a leaf, and it goes out. It's kind of spotty, right? Yeah. Do you have like a receiver on the roof? How are you getting it? Yeah.
Only 5 megabits per second.
Really?
Yeah, that's the max.
Yeah, because you're probably distant enough that that's the best it can do, huh? Yeah. Still, that's not, I mean, that's something.
Yeah.
Can't watch, over-the-top TV, really. Can't watch HD TV. It's probably better. That's why you're so smart. You don't have any TV out there.
Right. We have plenty.
What do you do? Are you a photographer? I see a camera on your shirt.
Well, I took the yearbook class this year.
Nice.
And I've been getting into photography.
Was that fun?
Yeah.
That's a good idea. The yearbook class is a really good idea, I think. Yeah.
And then he does all the AV for the auditorium.
Oh, you're the AV geek.
Yeah.
Most of us were. That's how it starts. Yep. Nice. Nowadays, though, AV isn't slide film strips and we had splicing movie rolls and you'd bring a projector around. Nowadays, it's just a projector with a digital connection, right? Yeah. That's cool. So you kind of are the IT guy for the school a little bit. Kind of?
For my classmates.
Yeah. They go, how do you do this, Cody? And the teachers, of course.
In elementary.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet in elementary you owned elementary. Yeah. Middle school is not it's harder to own middle school. There's other people. Cool. Are you so does school give you any tech education at all? No, it's all self-taught, right?
We had a technology class this year.
Oh.
Typing and
I bet it was dopey.
parts of a computer.
The parts of a computer.
Yeah.
I bet you already knew that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ask me about building your own computer at some point?
No.
No, just mesh. And what was the second call about? Do you remember? I know it was a long time ago.
It was about Android apps on a Chromebook.
Nice. That's awesome. You didn't know, did you? No. Your mom is baffled. Well, that's great. I'm really glad to hear it. You can ask Stefan about blockchain. You know about blockchain? Are you up in Bitcoin and all that stuff?
No.
That's a good subject.
Not yet. We can learn.
Maybe I could.
A distributed, provable ledger system that you can do all. Well, it sounds like you're doing logistics, which is cool.
It's all about immutability and no governance.
Yeah.
Those are the essential 2 points of the blockchain.
No covenants.
Non-governance.
No governance. Yeah, no centralized. Yeah. Are you using the same technology as Bitcoin or some other?
Actually, we are. Bitcoin script is the language
Yeah.
which you can program Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So normally a standard script is used for transferring
Yeah.
Bitcoins, but you can do more things.
Sure.
Like Ethereum.
Sure.
You can program Ethereum. So you also
And you don't have so many transactions that you have the issue that Bitcoin has, which is that the ledger is massive.
it is massive. What we use is a sidechain.
Yeah.
So then you get efficiency.
Who does the proof?
The proof in the sidechain,
Yeah.
it's proof of authority we're using.
So- Authority. Okay.
So there's a consensus between all
Right.
parties.
Right.
And let's say 11 companies within a consortium.
So you have a consortium, and they're all
The logistics chain.
like miners, basically. They're all.
Not one big company. Who's
Yeah. That's great. What a good idea. And these companies like the idea. They don't have to worry about a centralized.
It's a hard problem to get trust.
Yes.
Logistics chain.
Yes. You want to do what? Yeah. So otherwise, there are these big centralized logistics companies that do the, keep track of everything.
Well, as a matter of fact, FedEx, DHL.
That's the
companies like
logistics.
that,
Yeah.
They are looking at each other
Good.
So
Good.
initiatives there.
Yeah.
But we are a startup.
Good. So do you hope at some point FedEx and DHL would become customers?
It's a little bit more complex than that because they are looking, of course, at the small initiatives.
Right.
But it is rather radical what we do.
What would it solve for them?
It would solve that there is a lot of efficiency to be gained. Of course, you don't have the central authority, which you
Right.
costs money, banking,
Right.
stuff like that. But also the administration, debtor control, like
Yeah.
running letters, sending out, and all that creditor control.
Sure.
You don't need
And it would be more secure, right? You don't have a central insecure repository or potentially insecure repository. Yeah.
We all agree upon what is the truth.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. That's really, I think those are much more interesting than currency, frankly. Currency, I'm less interested in. I think blockchain has so many interesting applications that are non-currency. Yeah. Yeah, it's a very early day. Yeah. Fascinating. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography. We've got your smartphones, we've got your smart watches, all that jazz. 8888. Ask Leo, the number if you want to call and talk. We were talking last hour about face information, face app, and your information being sent out. I have to say, I feel like a little victory has been achieved in the Equifax matter. Remember, Equifax is the data. This is something we have to live with in modern society. They're the Consumer Credit Reporting Agency. There are three big ones. There's other smaller ones, and their job is to, every time you get credit, to record it and how you pay it back, so that others who want to offer you credit have somewhere to go to get that information. You, in the fine print, when you get a credit card or open a bank account, you agree to that they will be reporting your behavior to these agencies. So we can't say we didn't agree to it. We do, but it's in the very fine print. You may not even have known you agreed to it. I certainly didn't. And these three agencies, Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian, collect so much information about you. It's just a trove of information. You may remember Equifax was breached a few years ago, and 150 million people's records, very personal records, where they lived, how much they make, their social security numbers, was leaked out. It was the largest at the time hack in American history. Driver's license numbers, just everything. And for a long time, it looked like Equifax was going to skate. Nobody was going to go to jail. Nobody was going to get in trouble. There would be no fines. Well, there's some good news. They've been sued by many state attorneys general. They've been sued or investigated by the Federal Trade Commission and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And they are, good news, getting fined $700 million, it looks like, to settle those probes. Plus the deal with the FTC, the CFPB, and the state attorney generals will require Equifax is much more careful with your and our private data. So that's very good news. September 2017, we learned about the hack. It had happened 3 months earlier, so that was problem number one. They didn't report it for 3 whole months. And the damage, well, no one will ever know, but it's got to have been billions, right? Good news. There's been a little bit of a fine, and more importantly to me, they should be fined. They need more than a slap on the wrist, but more importantly to me, they now have rules they have to follow. And let's apply those rules to the other guys, right? The TransUnion and Experian too. Shouldn't they all be really careful with that precious cargo they are trusted with? 8888 Ask Leo. Back to the phones. Alex, Durham, North Carolina. Hello, Alex.
Hey, Leo. How you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. I really appreciate all the stuff that you do for us, and I've been a long-time listener, and
Thanks.
every day, and my 5-month-old daughter listens to you, too.
Oh, she's going to be a geek.
No, she's already a Laportian. That's what,
She's a Laportian.
yeah.
You know the Laportians, we have big L's on our forehead. Yes.
Maybe that's not a good sign.
Not a good sign. What's your daughter's name?
Maya.
Hi, Maya. Hi.
She's so sweet.
I'm glad she's
Thank
listening.
you so much.
You're welcome.
So I've got a question. We had the AT&T fiber install on Friday.
Nice.
Yeah, I was really looking forward to it. We had a little bit of an issue with the installations. They dug up my sprinklers and other stuff. But
there's one thing they do, and I don't know if you know whether they did this or not, but sometimes, a lot of times when Verizon, AT&T, and others put fiber in, they take that opportunity to cut the copper. That was
yes. That was the other thing they did.
They cut the copper. Now they're not supposed to without asking you, and you have the right to say no.
Oh yeah.
When they cut the copper, there's no turning back. They have removed your old-fashioned telephone service and replaced it with fiber.
Yes. So now we're in the situation. So I have the fiber. I had the guy come in. He did the install. I'm supposed to be on the 300 megabit plan.
Nice.
So I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah.
And what I'm noticing, there's one big caveat though, and that is that I really wanted to use my own router with their service.
Oh, you poor little consumer, you.
Yes.
You foolish little consumer. Use your own router. Why would you ever want to do that?
Yeah, well, I'm a big OpenDNS fan.
Yes, of course you are.
I tend to want to kind of know what's going on my side of this, on my side of the connection.
No, AT&T, Uverse, you got to use the Uverse router.
Okay.
Are you doing TV?
No, the only thing I'm doing is through fiber. And
okay.
Okay. My only concern was...
No, wait a minute, though. If you're not doing TV with Uverse, if you're just doing the fiber internet, it's my memory that you can use your own router.
Okay.
Only if you want to do their TV thing do you have to do their thing.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense, I guess. But, well, what I found is that there's no, and you know how you're supposed to go into the router and turn it into bridge mode and do all that stuff. But I cannot. There's no such setting on the router for that. And now they're talking about something called IP pass-through. And I don't know if you know what that is, and maybe you could explain that a little bit to me. From what I gather from all my searching is that basically what you're doing is just giving your router an IP pass-through, and you're putting
it in bridge mode as opposed to their router, which you'd like to put into bridge mode.
Because I have a Nighthawk router that I'd really like to use with it.
Yeah, and once your router's in bridge mode, it means it's not doing the network address translation, the NAT. And that's because you only want one device on your local network doing NAT. It's going to be the Uverse router.
Okay. Well, I think from what I've gathered, though, I think you can put the AT&T router onto IP pass-through, and then
that would be bridging. Yeah. Then it would just basically show up as your public IP address, and that your router then would do the network address translation. And
so there's that. So that is the same thing as bridge mode. Is that right?
Yes, that's my guess. I'm not sure because why don't they use the word bridge mode? I'm not sure
It said something. It said something about being it isn't bridge mode because they need to have access to this and that and blah blah blah. But you can still IP pass through.
Yeah.
My second part of that was, so if I do the IP pass through, am I going to be losing any of the speed?
No,
that's going to be.
It won't affect the speed. It will affect perhaps some of the things you can do. For instance, you may not be able to sign OpenDNS as your DNS server. They may override that. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. Why would AT&T not let you use somebody else's DNS? Because that way they can track everything you do and every site you go to, and they can sell that to somebody else.
Right.
So if you can, try to do that. If you can't use OpenDNS, there are ways to do it internally. You can do things like a Pi-hole or Disney's Circle, or there's a variety of things you can do that will give you many of the benefits of OpenDNS. You could also use DNS over HTTPS, which tunnels your DNS through their router and then uses Cloudflare or something similar. Cloudflare is a good one. And eliminates their ability to see what you're doing on the internet. But all of these things are kind of advanced. So
not for somebody with.
Well, I think you got the right idea. Twisted Mister is saying switch it to IP pass-through, connect a PC, do an IP config. If you get a public address, anyway, anything not 192.168 or 10. If you get your address, your AT&T address, then you're getting it. It's passing through, and that means you can use your router, and you should be able to do Open DNS and everything else you want to do.
Okay. And then I had just really a quick one for you.
Mike B is telling me Broadband Reports has an article about how to do this. So go broadbandreports.com.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike B. Appreciate it. So just one other thing. If I was to go with a mesh system, because I don't have a mesh now, if I wanted to and do all this IP pass-through, my question would just be really quickly, are mesh routers good for wired things as well?
Yes. Some mesh routers even have Ethernet ports.
Yeah, and that was my big question, because I have a PlayStation 4. I'd like, to have the thing connected wired to the thing.
Totally.
Okay.
So the Orbi, the Plume, a number of them have Ethernet ports on the base units, not the base unit, the satellite unit, which the Eero does as well, I think, on not the Beacon, but the old-fashioned Eeros. And so that would allow you to cook. You're still going Wi-Fi from the base station to the satellite, but then you're going Ethernet from the satellite to PlayStation. If your PlayStation's near the base station, then you have Ethernet off of that too.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, that's a great way. I do that with my TV, my whole TV setup, because I want that to be wired, not wireless.
Right. I do. I have a whole bunch of stuff that's all next to the router, so it can all be wired.
Yeah.
So, all right. Thank you so much, Leo.
My pleasure. And, I'm so jealous. 300 megabits, fiber. It's worth it. Whatever hoops you're jumping through.
And I'm doing the speed test, and I'm only getting 150, but that's still better than what I have.
Is that on wireless or wired? Wireless, that wouldn't be surprising. You're usually only about 60%. Wired should give you close to 300 if that's what they're selling you.
Okay. Yeah. Well, and I think that might be the case.
Yeah. Wi-Fi has overhead.
Okay. Perfect. All right, Leo. Thanks so much.
All right. Have a good one. Enjoy. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. Chris Marquardt, the photo guy, coming up in about 10 minutes, but we'll have time for some more calls between now and then. Stay here. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. I'm trying to find the rules on copper lines, but the chat room's telling me that the RBOCs, the regional bell operating companies, won't be required to maintain those copper lines, the ones we've used for 100 years for phone service, after next year. And, of course, if they're not required to keep them, they're going to dump them. It is really the way the world has gone. We're now, even when you make a phone call these days, even if it's copper lines to the telephone pole and the copper line from the telephone pole to the phone company, the central office, at that point, it pretty much always goes to internet, goes to IP. And so I have a feeling that copper lines, they're the last mile, and I have a feeling they're expensive to maintain, and it's probably just a matter of time. They have to replace it with something, though, right? Unless I wonder, maybe, us old-timers, we still have home phone lines, but I don't know anybody under 20, under 25, under 30 that has a home phone line. They all have cell phones. What do I need a phone line for? I got a cell phone. So I imagine this is just a matter of time. The world is a changing place, but that's good for me. Larry, down the road in Petaluma. Hi, Larry.
Hey, Leo. How are you today?
I'm great. Welcome.
Thank you. I've got an issue with a PC desktop running Windows 10. It's 3 years old, and so it's not relatively new. And it keeps on its own sort of restarting periodically, and then also sometimes it'll just the video will just drop out.
Boy.
And I know from listening to you, it's got a year-old SSD, so I don't think it's a hard drive issue. And
when you say restarting, does it physically turn off, or does the operating system? What does a restart mean?
It physically shuts off, and then it starts up again, like you would do a restart.
Okay.
And then
that's
when I open.
That's not software. That's hardware, obviously. And I don't think it's the hard drive. It sounds like the power supply.
That was going to be my question. Listening to you over the years, my first suspicion would be power supply. Second would be possibly video card.
Yeah, maybe. Although, is it so you have a discrete video card? Is it a high-powered NVIDIA or Radeon card?
It's an NVIDIA GTX 970.
Okay, so it's not it's not the state of the art, but it's taken some juice. So that's one thing. You probably noticed how big that card is. It has a dedicated fan, almost certainly. So it's using a lot of juice. So a bad power supply could absolutely dip the current going to that card, which would be enough to make that card stop working without rebooting the computer. At other times, the whole thing goes out. So that's certainly the first thing. And by the way, the cheapest thing to replace. On the other hand, there are lots of other things that could be going wrong. You could have a short in the motherboard. I mean, there's all sorts of other stuff that could cause that. But I would look absolutely at the power supply. That's a relatively inexpensive thing to replace. You can even do it yourself if you're careful. Don't open up the power supply itself. You want to keep that sealed.
I've done that before. I've replaced one, so I'll try that. If that doesn't work, then I'll counter a call back.
yeah. Maybe if it's a motherboard, it's there's nothing really you can fix.
Then I'll just get a new machine.
Do you notice it happens more when it heats up, or is it just a random thing?
Sometimes, oddly enough, it seems to happen sometimes when if I'm in Chrome and I click out of Chrome, I shut Chrome down. That'll trigger it sometimes, but other times it's just random, not particularly running anything.
Yeah.
Heavy.
The reason I'm asking is to see if it could also be heat related. So if it happened under load more often, then that could be poor cooling, or it's getting hot in there. Machine.
Unless running 4 or 5 open tabs in Chrome would heat it up, I don't think
Chrome's pretty bad.
Does that do it?
Yeah, Chrome's a pig. It's notorious. So, try to notice when it happens. If it happens under load, and Chrome is load, it's not as big a load as playing Crysis or something, but it's a video game, but it is a load. Then that could also be it. Now, that still could be the power supply, but it also could be overheating. Make sure your fans are moving, that the air is flowing. Put your hand on the back, feel out if air is coming out of it, things like that.
Yeah, I'm not a gamer, and I do run Photoshop and Lightroom, and I don't notice it happening then, which would be much more of a load than Chrome.
One would think. Chrome's notoriously bad, but I would think Photoshop's going to be worse. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'll try the power supply, and hopefully that'll do it.
Good luck. I hope it is, too. We had a problem with Scott Wilkinson, our home theater guy. He calls in on Skype. You can't see it, but I could see his video. And it's not affecting the radio show. His audio sounds just fine. But his video lags way behind his audio. So he'll say something and his lips will move 2 seconds, 3 seconds later sometimes. And we couldn't figure it out. And I think it was Mike B in our chat room. It was one of our chatters. Said, have him close Chrome. Lo and behold, it fixed it. Chrome was such a pig, just sitting there with browser tabs open, just sitting there, that it was using up CPU cycles, and the CPU couldn't keep up decoding or encoding his video. So simply closing Chrome, and Skype said, "Oh, thank you." Whew, that was tough, and it all worked. So Chrome is not a lightweight app by any means. It is heavier weight than it needs to be. Let's say that. If you're on a Mac, Safari is going to be much less of a power pig, much less of a CPU hog, and you can see it if you have a little CPU monitor. You fire up Chrome and bzzz. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Chris Marquardt, photo guy, coming up. So happy. My DoorDash came. You got the look. The DoorDash look. You guys ever use DoorDash? Yep. Mom says yep. You don't have it in the Netherlands. I'm sorry. If you have DoorDash in your neck of the woods, you are lucky. DoorDash, our sponsor for the podcast today. DoorDash connects your favorite restaurants to you through a Dasher. A Dasher will come and bring you a lovely meal to your door. This is the modern world. This is really, forget flying cars. Just give me DoorDash. You get home from work. It's been a long day. Tough day at school. You don't want to, and college kids, by the way, love DoorDash. If you're stuck at the office, treat yourself to the meal you deserve on demand from your favorite restaurant. Restaurants come to you with DoorDash. They have deals with all of the big chains. So even McDonald's. You can get Subway. But they also have arrangements with all the restaurants in town, too. So I set my mom up with DoorDash. My mom's 86. For my whole life, Mom was such a great cook. Mom's home cooking. I have her recipes. I still cook a lot. But a few years ago, she said, I'm too tired. I don't want to cook anymore. Now, she's 86, so she doesn't get out much. It's hard. She doesn't have a car. So I set her up with DoorDash. I put DoorDash on her phone. She's got an iPhone. That app is great, easy to use. I put my credit card in it. I said, Mom, anytime you're hungry, DoorDash. And what's great, it does go to my credit card, so I see. She uses it all the time. It makes me so happy. She cooked for me my whole life. Now I can buy her dinner, even though she's in Rhode Island and I'm in California. Everything's on DoorDash. That's the other reason. Mom she's not going to burgers. She does like pizza, though. I notice a lot of pizza. I think it's because the grandkids come over, and it's a good way for her to bribe them. Let's do DoorDash tonight, she says. And they say, yes, let's. But they're great restaurants in her area. She loves Chinese food. She's a great Chinese restaurant. Italian, she can get that. There's chains like Chipotle. I know she loves her Chipotle. Wendy's, Chick-fil-A. You know what's great? The Cheesecake Factory. If they don't have it on their menu, you can't get it. You like the Cheesecake Factory? Yeah, right? There's something for everybody there. Right now, you can get $5 off your first order of $15 or more. Here's what you have to do. Go to your phone right now. Open the App Store. Get the DoorDash app, DoorDash. And when you sign up, enter the promo code TechGuy, $5 off. You got to download the DoorDash app from the App Store and enter the promo code TechGuy. DoorDash. Have slices on your sofa. That's the modern world. Isn't this the dream? We're living the dream. DoorDash. I love it. The DoorDash app. Get it on your phone. And we do it for Lisa's parents too. It's a really nice thing to do. If somebody has just had surgery, they're a little under the weather, set them up with DoorDash. It is, maybe they're a little sick of that casserole you bring every time, okay? I'm just saying. Get the DoorDash app on your phone, and don't forget the Tech Guy offer code for $5 off. DoorDash! Time for Chris Marquardt. Our photo guy is here. Hello, Chris. He joins us every week to talk about taking pictures. What are we going to talk about today?
Well, you know that I don't usually like to talk hardware, but I think we have to talk about at least one camera, probably two cameras that
Chris knows
have just been announced. You should
that I have
know
a
which one I'm talking
problem.
about.
I have gear acquisition syndrome, and if he talks about a camera, very likely before he's off the air, I will have bought it. Because I have the misapprehension that a better camera will make me a better photographer.
No, you don't.
No.
Actually, you
I don't need it.
But
No.
the two cameras I want to talk about are not for sale just yet. So,
good.
I think you're safe for now.
Good.
Both are supposed to come out in fall.
Okay.
And of course, one is the Sony A7 Mark IV.
Now I have an A7 Mark III, A7R Mark III. Actually, no, I don't. I have the A7R Mark II, and I love it.
So they have just added a whole lot of stuff.
And I have all the lens, all the
last one.
GM lenses, the fancy lenses. So this is, I'm kind of all in on that system. I like that system. This is a full frame, no mirror system.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the new one, of course, the megapixel race is not over yet. So we're talking now 61 megapixels.
Now that will make me a better photographer.
This will definitely make you a better photographer. And this will also make you buy a new computer, bigger hard drives, more cloud space.
Yeah.
And so on.
Because 61 megapixels means that the raw image off of that sensor will be 60 or so megabytes.
Probably, yeah.
Wow.
Pretty fast, 10 frames per second, which is with 60 megapixels is... I have no idea how they do this. They have a huge buffer in there, so you can shoot like 10 frames per second, up to like 68 pictures into that buffer. So if you're a sports photographer, that might be interesting. What else?
Do I really need 61 megapixels? I think you.
Of course not. Of course
You've
not.
even told me that maybe it's not a good idea. Isn't low light performance? Doesn't it suffer when you have that many pixels on a full frame sensor?
Well, I mean, if one company has the whole sensor game down, it's probably Sony. And this camera sports like an ISO up to 3200.
Well, the good news is my Leica Q2 still hasn't been delivered, so I could cancel that. How much is this going to cost me?
We're talking $3,500.
So basically the same as the last one. Roughly.
It's in the same ballpark.
Yeah, $3,500. Okay, that's the body, no lens.
So that's the body, no lens, and it does a few new things like better autofocus, eye tracking. So when you take portraits, it tracks the eyes and not just
my A9
whatever's in
does
contrast
that.
there.
Yeah, I love that.
It adds eye tracking for animals. So if you want to take pictures of your pets, then that might be an interesting idea.
The idea is if the dog moves, once you lock onto his pupils, as he moves, as long as the camera can see his eyes will stay in focus, which is kind of what you want, right?
It is kind of what you want. And it has one feature that has a few people go, that's called pixel shift. It has this movable sensor for stabilization, but it can also use that to increase the amount of pixels. So it makes, with a pixel shift image, it makes a picture of 240 megapixels or up to 240 megapixels. Of course, the subject can't be moving, so this is more for like still lifes, architecture, that kind of stuff. But again, September 2019. If you're in that system, that might be kind of a logical progression. But there's a brand new thing coming out now.
Uh-oh, what?
That has just been announced.
Oh, no.
And this is the one that I find even more interesting. Even though I still have a lot of questions. Have you heard of the Sigma FP?
Yes. And I'm actually very interested in this. Because it's so small.
It stands for Fortissimo Pianissimo. That's what they say. So it's a camera that can play loud and soft, so to speak. Relatively light. We're talking, well, first of all, they claim this is going to be the world's smallest full-frame mirrorless camera.
Wow.
At least full-frame digital mirrorless camera.
Yeah.
Under 15 ounces, including the battery. So
and it will use my Sony lenses.
And it supports the L mount.
It's the Leica mount, right?
It's Leica, Sigma, and Panasonic. Those three have formed an alliance, which means we are talking about an enormous amount of lenses that are going to come out. I think Sigma has announced they have 6 L-mount lenses right now, or they will release them with this camera. They have another 5 in 2020. Panasonic has promised 42 L-mount lenses by the end of next year. Leica has, I don't know, about 14 L-mount lenses right now.
It's their mount, right? That the L is for Leica.
A huge.
So,
yes, yeah, it's a huge ecosystem.
My best lens is an L-mount lens, so this would go right on there beautifully. How much is this going to cost me?
Well, no one knows.
It's not available yet. They haven't set a price. Furthermore, there's one with a more traditional lens, but they're also going to do one with this Foveon lens. Or sensor. Well,
with the Foveon sensor, but for this one, especially as it has also very strong videography features, cinema features. So they're also billing this as a proper filmmaker camera. It shoots raw video, which is interesting because you can save that to an external SSD. So that's something quite unusual, but very, very welcome.
Do you think it'll be super expensive? It's just a little thing.
Oh, yeah, of course. The smaller, the more expensive.
Sigma used to be the less expensive lenses you'd get if you couldn't get the brand name lenses. That's changed, I gather.
Well, now I see this with a nice Leica lens as a small street camera. Yeah. Now, there's one issue, one potential issue that I'm kind of not very happy about, and it has only an electronic shutter, no mechanical shutter, which means that there is a chance that it will exhibit some rolling shutter effect, which is where when you move the camera or something moves in front of the camera quickly and fast, it might get distorted in some way. But we'll have to see how this turns out. So
it's only 24 megapixels too. It's not a super megapixel camera, but does that matter? Not really.
Not to me. Yeah. Not at all.
Yeah. The only advantage of a 61 megapixel camera is that you could crop it, right? If you didn't get the
if you get a sharp picture, if you don't blur the picture with motion blur. Because
you told me not to get a medium format camera because it's hard to get a still a steady shot with it because it's so high megapixel.
I mean, the Sony has the in-body stabilization. It moves the sensor, so I think you'll probably be good with the Sony. But the Sigma FP, I mean,
maybe I'll get the Sigma.
It's a pocketable. Yeah, but then, well, you have the lenses, okay, but
I have one lens.
Big questions.
Yeah,
I want to see the price first, and that one has not been announced.
Did they say when it would come out? Even
in fall.
You know, I'm taking a big trip to the Holy Land in late October, November, so. That's a perfect time to buy a new camera.
Right before you try. No. We don't do this, do we?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, so I'm excited about this. I'm really excited about the Sigma. I really want to get my hands on one.
Good. I'll wait for you. I'll wait for you. Chris Marquardt, what is our photo assignment before we run out of here?
We're still doing the door assignment, and we will do a review in a week from now.
Okay. So quickly, take a picture of a door, tag it with the words TG Door, upload it to the Tech Guy group on Flickr, and Chris will pick 3 to talk about next week. Chris Marquardt's a wonderful photographer, leads amazing expeditions. Find out more at discoverthetopfloor.com. You can see his pictures there too, and his books. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Leo.
Oh, I know. I saw that Sigma. Fortunately, it isn't really available. So,
I've even taken the time and watched the actual announcement in Japanese with subtitles. But this is an interesting little camera, especially as it has very professional video features on board.
Yeah.
I'm in Cinema DNG, Auto and SD, to an SSD.
Yeah, that's really interesting. But I don't do a lot of video, but you're right. It'd be a great... It reminds me a little bit of these Black Magic cameras that are just really just a sensor.
I think that's the direction they're taking. Yeah, it's a very modular camera. They have like a 1/4-inch mounts on the left, on the right, on the bottom, so you can put it in cages and put it in professional rigs. So, yeah, But I've tried to get one, and they said, sorry, we don't send stuff to bloggers.
Oh, so. Shoot. They're telling me, and I think they're right, that my Leica 50 is an M mount, not an L mount. It was fairly recently purchased, but I think it is an M mount.
You might want to rethink that.
Maybe. Well, you know, a lot of times you get adapters for these things. Maybe I'll go with a Sony instead. I don't know. I'm pretty happy with my A9. Is the A9 not? It's not. Are they going to do an A9 Mark II, or did they say anything about that?
Well, they didn't announce anything yet, but I mean,
they're going with that
of course,
A7. Their A7.
I'm pretty sure the A9 is sooner or later going to get a Mark II.
Yeah. I'm really happy with what I've got. I don't need another camera. In fact, I should really cancel the Leica Q2. That's a silly thing to purchase.
The Sigma is the Sigma.
Sigma's the one.
I'm just really curious about the rolling shutter.
Are their cameras expensive?
Oh, this will not be a cheap camera. I mean, they're putting a lot of development into miniaturizing that stuff. So miniaturization is always expensive.
Yeah. And how about Foveon? What do you think of Foveon?
Well, Foveon is great because you get these. You don't have the demosaicing from the Bayer area, but that camera, the FP, has a Bayer area on board. It's not a Foveon camera.
No, but they said there'll be a Foveon later.
They said that they are working on a Foveon, but I believe that would not be doing all those video features. And when we're talking about ISO, we're talking 25,600 ISO on that camera. Foveon will never be able to do that. That's a big problem of Foveon. That high ISO is not really good.
Yeah.
Oh, and the FP has a low ISO mode that goes down to ISO 6.
ISO 6?
If you want to shoot in the sun with a wide open aperture, you can do that now. You won't need an ND filter.
ISO 6. Does it have high ISO too for low light?
Yeah, it goes above. It has an expansion up to about 100,000.
All right.
I don't know how good.
In other words, you don't really want to, but it'd be interesting for that. You don't need a filter. Wow.
Yes, no ND filter, and you rarely see the shallow depth of field pictures in bright sunlight because most photographers don't carry an ND filter.
Right.
But with that camera, you can just dial that in. So But it's probably going to be too expensive.
What?
Especially
5,000,
for-
10,000, 20,000?
No, I'd say 4 to 5. But if I went that way, hey, I'd have to purchase at least 2 or 3 lenses.
Yeah, I'd have to have all new lenses. Yeah.
I have
I don't have any L lenses. Yeah.
Or at least a few adapters, and that is not going to help the size. So, I'm still very happy with Canon, though.
I know. I know the 5D Mark IV is a great camera. It's just big.
It's treating me so well.
Yeah.
It's treating me
You get great images. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888, ask Leo the phone number. Line 3, Tom, Springfield, California. Hello, Tom. Uh-oh. It's not Tom. It's Diane in Chicago. Hi, Diane.
Hi, Leo. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I got a new laptop. It's a HP Envy, and it's an i7. And
you like it? It's a very nice laptop.
Well, yes. And I have 2 questions.
Yes.
Should I have waited to get an i9?
No. You don't. Okay. What are you doing with your laptop, Diane?
Just a lot of searching and surfing.
Yeah, you don't even need an i7, truthfully. But it's nice to have because for bragging rights. But so Intel's processors, they do an i3, which is I don't usually recommend. It's basically an i5, but they take some cache out. The i5 is kind of their mid-range. The i7 is for people who want the most power. It's really similar to an i5. Really, what you're looking at is how many cores, dual core or quad core. When you get to the i7, they also add hyper-threading, so it's a quad-core processor with hyper-threading, which means it can do 8 things at the same time. Of course, you're only doing 1 in most cases, and it has a slightly higher clock speed. Then you go to the i9, and they can do 6 cores. They can do slightly higher clock speed again, and they have a bigger cache. Cache, the L2 cache, the on-processor cache, may even be the most important part of a processor for speeding it up. So as you'll notice, as they go from the i3 to the 5 to the 7 to the 9, they add more cache each time. But this is for people doing, photo editing, video editing, launching rocket ships, 3D studio design. You're just surfing the net and doing some searching?
Yes.
You're fine.
Okay, Leo. Now, here's what I want to know. Do I have to set up an MS account? I don't want to do anything with Microsoft.
I don't blame you. So the last time I installed Windows, which was only a few weeks ago, as you're doing the install, when it says, what's your Microsoft account, there's a little text in the lower left that says, don't use a Microsoft account, just use a local account. I always do that. Reason being, it will name your user subdirectory, whatever your Microsoft account is. If you don't use it, if you use a local account, you can call it Diane. And then your directory will quite logically be Diane.
Okay.
Instead of Diane XYZ32 at MicrosoftOutlook.com or whatever whatever the full Microsoft account name is. And I don't think that's a very good name for a directory. So I always do that, set it all up. And then later, if you want to, you can go into your user account and say, please attach this to a Microsoft account, but you don't have to.
Okay. Now, here's something that I want to ask you about. It is 256 gig solid state drive and 1 terabyte hard drive.
You laid out some cash for this. This is good. This is a nice machine.
16 gigs.
Of course it's 16 gigs. Diane's not going to work with 8 gigs of RAM. You got a very nice machine. How much can I ask?
900.
That's a great price for that machine. That's great. Very
it's
fast.
On sale.
Yeah, you got a good deal.
Thank you. And it's a touch screen, and I wanted 17-inch because I wanted everything to be big, like a desktop.
Wait a minute. But you got a 17-inch screen for under $1,000?
Yes, and it's Bang & Olufsen.
Yeah, they always say that on laptops. Does it sound like a really nice stereo system?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, then you got a deal. You scored.
Oh, I'm glad to hear you say that.
Yeah. So when you're setting it up, now maybe too late now, or you just got it and you haven't really gone too far.
I just got it Saturday.
Where it says, give me your Microsoft account, you'll look in the lower left. It'll say, use a local account instead. That's what you want.
Okay. All right, then.
You got a nice machine. I give you the seal of approval.
And it's a touch screen?
Yeah. I like touchscreen on Windows 10. I don't use touch that often. You know, my hands on the keyboard. Every once in a while, though, there's a big button I want to press, or I'm looking at something and I want to scroll around, and it's really nice to have that capability. I really like that.
Right, right.
Yeah. I think you did very well.
Well, thank you. And I wanted to thank you so much for doing a wonderful job ever since you were on television. I just love it, and I love you.
Oh, I love you too, Diane. I'm going to give you, for that, I'm going to play the Leo seal of approval. Boom.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Diane. Take care. That's a nice system. Really overkill. Really. Now, the only reason you want to stay away from an i7 or an i9 is because of the heat they generate. If you need all that processing power, of course, get it. And if she's using Chrome, as we spoke about earlier, she's going to need all that 16 gigs RAM and a very fast quad-core processor. But honestly, they generate a lot of heat. And a lot of times in laptops, I don't know about these HP Envies. I think they're very well designed. But a lot of times in laptops, i7s and i9s, remember Apple got a little heat for this, so to speak, last year with its i9 MacBook Pro. They're so warm, they throttle the processor down to keep the machine from overheating. And as a result, you never get all of that speed. All the Intel processors, everything you buy today, they'll have a kind of a nominal speed. They'll mention 1.6 gigahertz or 2.0 gigahertz or whatever that is. And then they'll go as fast as, and they'll have a much higher speed. The higher speed is something they can clock up to if they need to. It uses a lot of energy, so battery life goes down, generates a lot of heat, so the fans will come on, and your laptop will sound like an airplane about to take off. And then when it's done using those, it'll throttle down. As long as you have good cooling on that, and I have to say, HP, lately, their stuff has been really rock solid. This Envy is a beautiful machine. I actually envy her on this machine. I should have asked her, though. They have one that's made out of wood. HP's getting a little weird. They have a leather laptop, the Folio, and now apparently they have an Envy that has wood trim. That is not good for cooling. If you're going to get an i7 or an i9, do not get the wood trim. I'm hoping. I think a laptop should not be made out of wood. It's just a bad idea. But these are really nice, thin, all metal, otherwise fast. And boy, that price is very good. Very good. The reason now they use aluminum is because of all that heat these generate. And so that's one of the reasons why you may not want a super fast processor, because if you have your laptop in your lap and it starts to get really, really hot, that's no fun. 8888 asks Leo. Yeah, Loquacious mentions in the chat room. I had a laptop. I got this 5 years ago. It was a steampunk laptop. Somebody had taken an old Toshiba laptop and he'd made a wooden case. He'd replaced the keys with old typewriter keyboards. It was very Baroque, very Rococo, beautiful thing, weighed 25 pounds. It was just gorgeous. It was very expensive. But I didn't use it, so I gave it to a priest. And I believe he is now at the Vatican. I believe that steampunk wooden laptop with the typewriter keys, that may even be used by the Pope now. I don't know. He does IT for the Pope. So it could be the Holy Father is using a beautiful wooden lacquered. It would be appropriate. It'd be perfect, really, frankly. Running Windows 7, though, so he's going to have to get rid of it in January. 8888 Ask Leo's the phone number. I'm not being sacrilegious. Everything I just said is actually true. Father Robert Balaser, he calls himself the digital Jesuit. He said, I would love to bring that, because he got reassigned to the Vatican. He's working in the Vatican now. And he said, I would love to bring that to the Vatican. I know for a fact he and the Pope spend time together. The other day, they were down, this is not a joke, they were down in the catacombs playing Dungeons and Dragons, and the Holy Father walked in and said, "What are you guys doing?" I'll have to leave the rest of that for another time. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. And that is the God's truth. I'm not making this up. I very rarely use the knob. The Pope said, "No, I'm good." He said he didn't want to play. I honestly, he said, "I'm going to try to get the Pope to use this laptop." A bishop, a cardinal, and a priest are playing Dungeons and Dragons. And in walks the Pope. And that all happened. Honest. Well, hey. How are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk, well, tech, computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography. We talk smartphones. We talk smart watches. All that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo is the phone number if you have a question or a comment or suggestion. 888-827-5536. The website is techguylabs.com, and everything's there. Every time I mention a link or a product or, all the answers to the questions, James DeRuvo writes that down, puts it up there, techguylabs.com. We also put audio and video from the show after the fact up there. There's a pick of the week, a tip of the week. It's a little biased, but I think it's a pretty good site, and it's free. There's no sign up, no charge. Just there for your perusal and enjoyment, and so that you don't ever have to worry about writing anything down while we do the show. techguylabs.com. Line 2, Matt, Anaheim, California. Hello, Matt.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well. So, my question, recently bought a warehouse, and it previously had Spectrum, so I thought, no problem, I'm going to get Spectrum. It's fast, it's cheap, and they did an inspection, and they're saying that they need to trench to the building because they don't want to run it from my internet from the pole, my building. And I don't see the point because everything goes in through the ceiling anyways, so they're going to have to trench and then
run it up the side of the wall through the ceiling. Well,
and I need internet, not to wait 60 days to trench.
Oh, what a bummer.
So any advice on this?
Well, you can't talk them into doing something different. I mean, it's their decision, I guess. What I would do, though, if you're in a commercial area in a commercial building, is see if there's other choices, because while Spectrum, they're the cable company, but there will be other for instance, our building here, we have a 6 or 7 different ways we can go, including the incumbent cable company, Comcast. And we actually chose a company called SonicNet that offers us 10 gigabits in and out. I mean, really nice speed at a very fair price. Now, if I were you, are you the only person in that physical building?
So I think it's shared. The physical building is like 4 units.
Okay, because you might check. What we did is we just went back to they have a little room where all the internet stuff comes in, and you can go back there and see what else is in there. Or you can go, check online and see what other commercial choices there are. But because you're in a commercial area, you probably have more choices than you would at home. Typically, a home user has the cable company or the phone company, if they're lucky. And there are other choices. But usually, if there's a commercial area, there are other choices. And by the way, that might be some leverage with Spectrum. Because you can always say, well, no, I need it right away, so I'm going to go with somebody else. They may find a way to put it in off the telephone pole for you.
That would be ideal.
Right.
Because I have security cameras up, and I need something to attach them to.
Yeah.
So.
Before we moved, we just moved into our current studio about 3 years ago. That was, of course, for me, the number one question. What kind of connectivity do we have, and what choices do we have? And there were a number of different choices. I think because we're also, remember, streaming. I do a podcast network, and we're always streaming video and audio of this show and every show I do all week long. It was really important that we have good, high-speed upstream internet. And so that was a major consideration in choosing a commercial space. And we have redundancy. So we do, in fact, have a Comcast contract along with a Sonic contract. And there's another company, I think, a third company, because we want to have – it's not so much about having more bandwidth. 10 gigabits per second is more than anybody could ever want, but at least for now. But having something if one of them goes out, because nobody's internet is perfect. So it's always good to have a little backup plan. It's worth – I think you're going to be in that warehouse for a while. It's worth checking out other options. And maybe you want both. You never know. Bud in Lolo, Montana. Hello, Bud. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo.
Hey.
My question is, do you know if Apple will ever incorporate live listen into their new AirPods?
This is something that I wear hearing aids. A lot of people love the idea. Live listen is a feature of the iPhone where you could turn on, basically use it as a microphone, turn it on, and then it comes in through the headphones. Doesn't it work with the AirPods?
No, I haven't any luck with that.
It's supposed to.
Well,
so you go. I'll walk you through it. In fact, I'll put a link in the show notes to the Apple Tech Note. Use Live Listen with AirPods and that new thing, the PowerBeats Pro. Both of those are wireless Bluetooth headphones. That, frankly, is the only way Live Listen makes sense. If you have to be in a wired headphone, one of the reasons you might use a Live Listen is you're at a restaurant, everybody's talking, you put it in the middle of the table, conference, put it in the middle of the table, you're at a speech, put it on the podium. Having it wired really limits your capability, but wireless means you can get as far as 10 meters, 30 feet away from it. To use Live Listen, Apple says you have to first add it to the control center. The control center is that thing that you slide down from the lower right-hand corner of your iPhone. So go to Settings, Control Center, type Customize Controls, scroll down and tap the plus sign next to the hearing aid icon. This is just an ear. And then once you've done that, type back, save the settings. Now Live Listen should be available to you as you slide down the control center in the lower right-hand side of the iPhone. You should have it. I have it here, a little ear that you could turn it on. In fact, when I turn it on, I don't have my AirPods with me, but it does in fact say AirPods, and it says unavailable for current route, and that's because the AirPods aren't here. But Live Listen is available for my AirPods. So you can add it to the control center. You'll have a little ear. You tap that ear, and as long as you've got the AirPods paired to the phone, and the phone knows that the AirPods are there and can see it, make sure your AirPods are connected. Maybe they're not connected. Rico, Cerritos, California. Hello, Rico. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, Leo. How you doing today?
I'm great, Rico. How are you?
Okay. Haven't talked to you for a few years, actually.
Welcome back. I missed you, Rico.
Yeah, I miss you, too. Now, listen to you, though.
Well, good. Don't ever miss a show. Yeah.
All the time.
No, yeah.
Hey, my problem is I'm trying to access a wireless printer that is connected to a Google Chrome modem Wi-Fi network, like an extension network.
The Google Wi-Fi device, or?
Yeah, the Google Wi-Fi device.
Yeah. Okay, the little fabric-covered dot. Yeah, okay.
Right. I'm trying to connect to that from a desktop computer, a PC, that is connected to a Frontier file modem port.
So, I see. So your PC is not on the Google Wi-Fi. It's not using the Wi-Fi. It's using a hardwire right to the modem. But you are on the same network, so it should see it. Is the printer on the Wi-Fi, the Google Wi-Fi?
Yes, it is. The IP address is 192.168.86.
Yeah. And what's your computer's? Oh, that's your computer's.
192.168.1.
.1 dot something.
Correct.
Yeah. So that's the same subnet, so it should see it. What those numbers mean to me, and the reason you probably know those numbers is because you probably read something that said, make sure those numbers are the same, and they are. That means you're all on the same network. It should work. There is a backup plan you could use if it doesn't work, which is called Google Cloud Print. And it's a little weird given that you're in the same room or in the same building as your printer, but you can, most wireless printers will support AirPrint, which is Apple's technology, and CloudPrint, which is Google's technology. Look in your wireless setup in your printer and set up Google CloudPrint. You'll have to go into your Google account on your computer and turn CloudPrint on. At that point, the cool thing about doing that, it's worth doing, A, you'll be able to print from your laptop as long as that printer really is on the network. But B, you can print from anywhere you are from your Google account. So you can be out of the house at a coffee shop or at work and print on your home printer using Google Cloud Print. And that's a nice feature. It's not a solution to the problem you just said. I mean, you should be able to see that printer. I'm not sure why you can't. But it is a very convenient thing, and it will do a workaround because you should be able to print to that printer anytime, anywhere, using your Google account. So check to see if your wireless printer supports Cloud Print. If it does, turn that on and turn it on in your Google settings, and it'll ask you what kind of printer you have. And once it sees the printer there, it'll say, oh, that printer. Make sure you're both on the same network. You're not. Somebody in the chat room said make sure you're not on a guest network. I would assume you're not. That you're on the same network. That your printer is actually on the network. You can check the Wi-Fi settings on the printer to make sure it's seeing the network. But even if you're wired and your printer is wireless, if you're on the same network, you should be able to see it and print to it. Check on the computer and see if you can. Open the printer control panel and see if you see that printer. Make sure it has the drivers installed too. That might be another issue. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888 Ask Leo. We've got a few lines open. I went through a bunch of calls there, so give me a ring. Let's talk high tech, you and me. Oi, como va? Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. Ray in Canton, Ohio. Hello, Ray.
Hey, Leo. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Hey, I'm an AT&T tech, and I just wanted to point out we have a residential gateway, which is a modem/router.
Right.
And you can't buy the modem. You can't use your own, but you can use a standalone router behind our modem.
He's on UVerse, right? He's on the fiber solution, right?
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
Is the IP pass-through, is that what it means if you do IP pass-through, that his router can do the DHCP?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, good.
100%.
That was his question, is because neither he nor I had heard of the term IP pass-through, but it sounded like the same as bridge mode.
I don't know why they call it that, but yeah, it is called that.
Okay. It's bridge mode, which means that's actually really good news. So you still have to use obviously the modem, because that's what's demodulating the data from the fiber. Is it fiber all the way in, or is it fiber to the curb? How do you guys wire that up?
It's fiber to the premise, and they plug in what's called a ONT, which is a converter box, and you put it in the house. And it's 1 gigabit Ethernet to the modem from that. So
the ONT is attached to, it's a converter, basically. It's a fiber router, and it attaches to the fiber and then turns it into Ethernet. And then the Ethernet is then throughout the house. That's good. And a gigabit. Nice. Very nice. The optical network terminal. Well, I appreciate the call. Thank you, Ray. It's good to talk to somebody who's actually installing those things. Now, tell me the truth. Are you cutting the copper when you install those?
What if you want a POTS line, a plain old telephone?
What do you need one of those for, right? Who needs that? Yeah, I think somebody was telling me the reason that nowadays it doesn't matter is in a year they're not going to support the copper anymore anyway. So at that point.
It's possible. We'll see what the government says.
Yeah, it's kind of up to the FCC, isn't it? Yeah, it's regulated. Yeah. Hey, it's great to talk to you, Ray. Thank you.
No problem. You have a good day, Leo.
All right, you take care. So there's your answer. IP pass-through, as AT&T calls it, is bridge mode. So if you put the AT&T router into IP pass-through, your router then takes over and can do all the work. That's great to know. See, we got some smart listeners out there, people who are actually in the field. Clay, Highland, California. Hello, Clay. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. I have an older Samsung flat-screen TV that within the last month, I turn it on, and in 5 seconds, boom, it goes out.
Yikes.
And you just keep turning it on, and it keeps going out. And so I started kind of Googling what's going on or how to fix this, and I saw a lot of YouTube episodes that say, well, replace the remote. I did that. That didn't work. And then I see stuff it's a lot of Samsung TVs, and you have to replace the motherboard.
Oy.
Some guys do it themselves, and some go to, the Geek Squad. My question is, mine's kind of old. I'll get rid of it, and I like Samsung. Have you heard of this trouble with newer Samsung TVs?
So the thing to understand about all flat screen TVs is they're really not very fixable. A lot of it's like a computer. It is a computer. What am I saying? Like it is a computer.
Right.
And even if Samsung Tech, if they would repair it, they would come out and they would swap out big chunks of it, like the entire motherboard. It may be a simple thing to fix. You just don't know. The TV coming on and going off again, yeah, that could be a lot of things. Could be bad capacitors. Maybe it's possible to desolder them, put new ones in. I don't know. Replacing the remote, that doesn't make a lot of sense unless the remote is kind of broken to this point that it's sending an off signal all the time. No, Samsung TVs are not unreliable. They're very reliable. But in most cases, flat screen TVs of all makes are not highly repairable. So, and that's one thing that's really changed. We used to buy, you're probably old enough to remember, you'd buy a TV, you'd keep it for a decade or two.
Yes.
Right? That's all changed. That's all changed. The people now spend a lot more for their TVs, and they don't keep them as long. So I would have no trouble getting a Samsung TV. I've had many Samsung TVs. I have one right now that I spent a lot of money for. It was one of the first OLED TVs. I love it. It's still one of my favorite TVs, Samsung. And I've had no problems with it. I don't think they have an unusual amount of trouble. I think they make some very good TVs. Don't be fooled by the QLED that Samsung sells. That's an LCD TV, but they give it that designation because it's LED backlit with special cute quantum dots. But it is not an OLED TV. They do make, I think they still make OLEDs. I love my Samsung OLED. In fact, if I would look at a 4K, there's going to be a big improvement, I think, in the quality of television. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. So I don't know. Don't believe. Made in New York, who is trustworthy, says don't believe the AT&T guy. IP pass-through isn't bridging. It's a hack that lets your device share the external IP address, but you're still going through their crappy buffer-bloated AT&T router. I've had it for a year. If they just allowed you to plug in my router into the optical network terminal, it would be really awesome. There's probably some demodulating, though, that has to go on. Maybe it's not in the ONT. Maybe the ONT just, well, I don't know. If it turns it into Ethernet, yeah, what do you need it for? That's actually a good question. And Samsung does not make OLEDs anymore. That's too bad, because that was a nice OLED. I use an LG also, which I really like. Have I told you about my Simply Safe system? Oh, I love Simply Safe. It's security done right. Simply Safe was created by a couple of very smart couple, husband and wife. They were renters, and they said, the real problem with home security is we rent, we need security, but, we're going to move. What do? They created Simply Safe. Of course, it didn't hurt that he was like an MIT engineering graduate, and and this guy was really smart. Simply Safe is so cool. First of all, you install it yourself, and it's easy. Little stick-em-up things, and they've got every sensor. They've got motion sensors. They've got, sonar, so you can see people going down the hall. They have door opening, glass break. They even have water sensors you can put by your water heater in case your pipe breaks. It is everything you'd need, plus an amazing base station that is indestructible. Bad guys they can hit it with a bat. They can try to blow it up. Nothing they could do. You're still going to get support. And the best part of all is you have the same quality 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week monitoring the other guys have for like a third. Actually, I think it's more like a quarter of the price. No contract, hourly, 24/7 monitoring, $15 a month. There's no hidden fees. There's no fine print. It's easy to order and easy to set up. You can do it yourself in less than an hour. And if you're a renter and you move, you just take it with you. I mean, we're not a renter, but it's just the greatest thing ever. I don't want some guy traipsing through my house, scoping the place out, drilling holes in the wall. Simply Safe. The prices are always fair and honest. The monitoring's really affordable. And Simply Safe protects every window, every room, every door. You get exactly what you need. And by the way, I want to tell you this. Their police dispatch is about 3.5 times faster than anybody else because they use something called a video verification technology. This is awesome. When other home security systems are triggered, a lot of the times we experienced this at our old building. The police stopped coming because they assumed it's a false alarm because you know what? A lot of the times with our old expensive system, it was. So they put the call at the bottom list. Yeah, we'll get there when we get there. Simply Safe's video verification technology lets the police actually confirm there's a break-in, which means you're at the top of the list. They're going to get there before the bad guys leave. It's just awesome. The Wirecutter picks it, CNET, so many awards. I pick it. It is awesome. And this is a good time to get your Simply Safe because July and August are when most burglaries occur. You're actually 300% more likely to be broken into right now. So this is the time. Go to simplysafe.com/twit. Simplysafe.com/twit. And of course, we've got an offer for you. Free shipping and a 60-day risk-free trial. So there's no risk. Try it for 2 months. Don't like it? Get your money back. You will. You have nothing to lose, and you have everything to gain. SIMPLISAFE, simplysafe.com/TWIT. Great deal. Home security done right. It's the one I recommend. Simplysafe.com/twit. And oh, by the way, we thank them for supporting the podcast, making it possible. And thank you for supporting them, because by doing that, you support the podcast too. Simplysafe.com/twit. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888. Ask Leo, the phone number, if you want to talk high tech. I'd like to talk high tech with you. Let's go to line 1. Klaus in Laguna Niguel. Hi, Klaus.
Hi, Leo. Love your show. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely great. Question. We are a wine company. We go to art and wine festivals, and, of course, we sign up wine clubs and run our credit cards right there. Currently, we use Square, which has like a convenient setup for items. You click whatever wine you want, and you put in your shopping cart, you swipe your card or chip card, and everything is cool. However, the problem is when we come home, we don't have the bill and chip tool capability of entering into Square. Or we think in the year 2019 there would be multiple systems out there who offer you a POS system that you can use, a mobile POS system.
Square really kind of pioneered this. This was Jack Dorsey, who was formerly of Twitter, actually still at Twitter, runs both companies now. And the idea, he spent a lot of time in a little maker space designing this little dongle that you could just plug into the audio jack on your iPhone back when they had audio jacks and swipe credit cards. Right. They've come a long way since. And they do have a point of sale system.
Right, but no bill and chip tool, which you can export via denominated.
I see.
Because we want to, we have to create shipping labels with UPS, FedEx, DSO, whatever's out there. And it doesn't offer this interface. Well, that's
a shame.
You can write a macro, so I hope that you know.
Well, I can give you some other names that do some of the. Once Square did this, everybody in the business said, "Oh, let's do it." And one company that does it that I'm sure has a bill and ship tool is Shopify. I don't know. Do you have e-commerce on your site?
We do.
And who do you use for your e-commerce?
It's an external. It's like a shopping cart system focusing on the wine industry.
Ah, okay. Shopify is a general purpose e-commerce tool. A lot of people use Shopify on their websites, but they also offer chip readers. They'll work with your online sales. I guess you don't need that. And I'm pretty sure they have bill and ship as well. What's the name of the winery?
Kingfrosch.com.
KING?
FROSCH.com. All natural wines. I do this for 17 years. People call me the no headache wines.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, no sulfites, huh? And do you do German style? Is that how you do it?
Thank you for my accent. Yes, I cannot hide it. I cannot get rid of it.
It looks like you do a Riesling. Actually, that Riesling bottle is beautiful. That's a dessert wine, I know, but that looks beautiful.
Right. But we have excellent dry wines. Lately, one of our red wines were winning double gold competitions in Denver, Colorado, like a Dornfelder, one of our biggest red wines we have in Germany.
I love it. I'm gonna order some. I love German wine. I love the Rhine wines quite a bit.
So do you like dry or sweet?
Actually, my wife is a dry red drinker, but I actually like some of the sweeter Gewürztraminers and other.
You cannot live without me.
I have got the website pulled up right now. So we'll give you a little plug to KingFrosch, FROSCH.com. So there's other companies though like Square. There's Lightspeed. There's Payment Depot. There's a ton of them. I mean, this is because Square owned it. They invented it. But, you can't keep a good man down, and everybody likes to steal. So Lightspeed does do inventory management. So I'm going to guess they may also have bill and ship and other things involved as well. That's really what's happened is that companies realize that Square isn't as full service as some of the tools that you're used to. And so I think that they're jumping in saying, yeah, maybe we could offer additional. Lightspeed does a retail POS. They also do a restaurant POS, and they do e-commerce.
Yeah, but we need power. We don't have power. We have maybe a power bank out there with a laptop or not.
Oh, you're out in the shed there.
Exactly. That's what we do.
I get it. So, that's a little trickier.
Wine festival. That's what we do, right?
Oh, that's cool. So you want to do bill and ship from an iPad, in effect?
iPad or Galaxy.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I don't know off the top of my head. Somebody might, and we'll call about that. I would certainly take a look at these other two. Lightspeed does have a. I'm thinking they have a phone-based POS, so they might have an iPad version. They might have a Android version. I would take a look at them for sure. And then Shopify, which is a big e-commerce company. I don't know if they have the portable solution, though.
I think some of them don't take alcohol. I don't know.
Yeah, that's an issue, too. As you know, we live in a country where we don't. It's not quite like Germany. We don't have the widespread use of alcohol. We have some dry states. So, in fact, it's the ship. As you know, shipping wine is a nutso thing. Because you make your own wine, you have a little more flexibility than say a wine store. But it's kind of crazy in this country. I know there's states you just can't ship to.
We are compliant. We use a compliant shipper.
Sure, of course you do.
Whatever, I don't know.
Yeah.
People.
Well, I'm in California. We can get wine anywhere, from anywhere, send it anywhere. Hey, it's nice to talk to you, Klaus. I can't wait to try your wine.
Absolutely. I have one more question.
I like no headache.
Since I have you on the line, I kind of do not like my website. I would like to have a new website with SEO optimization, etc. I do this for 17 years, and I get very few online sales. And I would like to ramp that up with a little bit more SEO optimized.
How did you do it? Did you hire somebody to do it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And is it running? Do you know what platform it's running on? Is it?
It's the nexternal.com shopping site.
Okay.
I put like a WordPress face on top of it.
Yeah, it looks like WordPress. So you can go to WordPress.com. They have e-commerce there. They might have something a little more modern. Squarespace is as well. And then there are sites. Shopify is one of them. BigCommerce is another that specialize in creating commerce sites. And that seems to me the most important part of what you do is selling the wines online.
Got it.
Yeah.
What do you think I should invest? What is a normal price, an average price?
I'm the bad person to ask. You don't even want to know what we spent on the Twitch site or my podcast network. We spent, well, I'll tell you because I should get something for the pain. We spent $250,000 on it.
Oh, my goodness.
And we had a custom design from scratch. We use a Drupal, headless Drupal backend. It's very fancy, very modern, very expensive. This is why you will save a lot of money going through sites like Squarespace.com, WordPress.com, Shopify, BigCommerce, because it's not going to be quite as custom, not quite as flexible, but it's a lot less expensive. And I think that's probably worth looking at those sites that specialize on online commerce. They also, I think, are going to be focused on these days on securing your database and all of that. That's very important
Absolutely.
too. Yeah. So if you looked at Shopify and see what their point of sale solution is, that would integrate into your website as well. So that's one reason to maybe look at somebody that can do it all.
Awesome.
Hey,
okay, cool.
Great to talk to you, Klaus. I shall be ordering. I'm going to order this sweet Riesling. That looks fantastic, and I've got to try the red wine that you were talking about. That sounds.
Well, actually,
fantastic.
if you want a semi-sweet red, go for our number one.
All right.
I took like number one is like number one because number one is number one.
You're number one with me, Klaus. Thank you, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Squarespace, come to think of it, does bill and ship. They do Shopify. They actually might have a more complete solution than anybody. Squarespace, I think, uses Stripe, I want to say. I can't remember off the top of my head. But I'm pretty sure they support Shopify, and they have bill and ship. They who did they use for bill and ship? I can't remember, but they do have it. I'm being nice. They're not even a sponsor anymore. WordPress is a sponsor. Leo Laporte, the funky tech guy. I'm funky because of Big Pee-wee, my musical director. Thank you, Damien. Doing a great job playing the music. Thanks to Kim Schaffer. She's answering the calls. Thanks to you for listening. You have the hardest job of all. Line 3, Bob in Louisville. Hello, Bob.
Hey, Leo.
How are you?
I'm doing well. Joining the crowd of cord cutters for almost 10 years now.
Wow. You were a pioneer.
Nah.
Well, 10 years ago, there weren't nearly the choices that you have today.
Well, part of that is just, why do I want to watch all that? That's part of it.
Yeah, it's easy to cut the cord if you don't want to watch TV. It makes it a lot easier, I must say.
However, local television is important because that's a big source of news and weather.
Exactly. Right.
I've had an OTA antenna, digital antenna, for a long time.
Great solution.
And
yeah,
and several iterations of it. My question for you is: the FCC decided to sell off some of that allocated spectrum to providers who don't for digital services other than television.
Right.
And that decision goes back to, I guess, 17, and there was some sort of phased rollout.
Yeah, we talked about it nonstop a few years ago because all the over-the-air analog stations went digital, moved their frequencies.
Yeah.
And you may even remember that the FCC, the government, was offering free or inexpensive digital upgrade tuners so that people could...
I had one.
Yeah.
Of those, Leo.
Yeah. Yeah.
It didn't work very well.
No.
So anyway, what's the status of that? I think they call it a repack or some such.
Yeah, that's complete. That's complete. There are still a few analog stations, but that's complete. But then maybe what you're talking about is the newest thing the FCC is doing, which they're asking stations to move their frequencies.
Right.
And that is a little different. The first one was going from analog to digital. That was a big jump. That broadcast TV transition. That was significant. Now, in most cases, all you have to do is rescan because it's not moving from analog to digital. It's just moving to another location on digital. So that's, I think, maybe that's what you're talking about rather than the jump.
It is.
Yeah. That transition began in 2017 and will complete, I believe, next summer. So it's kind of a rolling rollout.
What is the best way to find out? My local TV stations don't seem to really know much about this because they're not even really local anymore.
You can go to the FCC site, fcc.gov. And they actually, I believe, have a listing of channels, their schedule for moving. You know, what date they're going to move, what frequency they were on, what frequency they'll be on. Their advice to most people is just, you know, you've got a digital tuner, just rescan. Remember when you first set up your TV or your cable box or whatever, you scanned, when you set up your OTA thing, you scan through, just like you do on a AM radio. You know, you scan through until you found all the stuff. Well, you're going to have to do it again. And in some cases, you have to do it several times. So
Leo, the reason I want to find out about this is I don't want to turn on the TV someday and just look at a dark screen.
Well, it's already happened. We had a caller a month or two ago who said, "What happened? I can't find channel 2."
Yeah.
And so, if that happens, that's what happened. If you go to fcc.gov/rescan, that's what that's where they're hoping everybody will go to get the information. I don't see. I'm looking at it right now. I don't see a list of. And then there's a link to broadcast TV transition, what to watch for, what's happening, why it matters. Somewhere on here, because I've seen it, there's a list of all the local stations in the country and where they're going and when they're going there. So this is going to continue through the middle of next year, so it's not done yet. Looks like, refer to our interactive TV reception map to insert your address and see the frequency change time frame for your locals.
I see that. I'm following you as we talk.
DTV Maps. I'll put that in our show notes, too.
Okay.
So there you go. It's at fcc.gov. Just search for DTV Maps on fcc.gov. And that will tell you, you enter your zip code, and it'll say, Channel 9 will be, at 722 megahertz starting in April, that kind of thing.
Gotcha. Hey, do you have a minute for just a quick question about time to move off of the Surface Book to another alternative question?
Yes, I think it's time.
Yeah. Well, what was
the answer would be yes. I bought the first Surface Book, and it had problems for an entire year. Microsoft couldn't figure it out. They said they literally said it's a difficult computer science problem. Well, then why did you make the freaking book? So they eventually got it fixed, and now they have a problem with the latest. I think it's 1903 in the Surface Book 2. It's turning off the GPU, the graphics processor.
Oh God! Well, so I have the same machine, and it was replaced under warranty 6 times.
Nightmare.
6 times. So that's going in the historic library bin.
Remember, Microsoft had just gotten into the laptop business.
Yeah.
And you could tell it wasn't a successful laptop.
Same kind of lightweight, and I don't mean...
Well, I'll give you a couple of brands that I like. We were just talking with somebody who got the new HP Spectre, and those are very nice. HP... I didn't, for years, people will remember I said, whatever you do, don't buy an HP computer, because they would load it up with junk, and it was terrible.
Yeah.
But once they split off the HP Enterprise, now they have HP PC, I think they've made some really nice laptops. So for thin and light, I really like the HP, the Spectres, the Envy's very good. So they've got some very nice thin and light laptops. I'm a Lenovo fan. Those are built a little bit more like a tank, but the Lenovo ThinkPads, they're fantastic. Especially the keyboard. Thin and light, not so much. But if you want a tank that's going to last years and years and years, I love the ThinkPads. Not all the Lenovo's, but the ThinkPads. Their yoga book, the C320, I think it was, I can't remember the number, was quite good. I had that for a while, and I thought that was quite good. And then Dell, I think the Dell XPS machines are very good. They're thin, light, powerful, and my experience has been quite reliable. So Dell, Lenovo, or HP. Those,
HP.
Yeah.
Of those, I unfortunately have to do periodically some fairly lightweight video editing. This is not production quality. It's just chopping stuff up to hand to somebody else.
Yeah.
And I just need something that's GPU powerful.
That's why you bought the Surface Book, because it had a GPU.
Well,
yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
You read my mind.
I just bought a ThinkPad X1 Extreme, which is their high-end workstation with a dedicated NVIDIA GPU. Very high end. It can go up to 32 gigs of RAM, which will be helpful to you. The only negative is battery life is disappointing.
It's got to do 2.5 to 3 hours.
It'll do that. It'll do that, but not much more, maybe 4. On the other hand, it's a beast of a machine. That's often the trade-off, though. Power equals battery drain, right?
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, I understand you can't have everything.
I think the Dells are quite good, too. They have some GPU. You shouldn't have too much trouble. You might even look at gaming machines because, of course, they all have GPUs. And even though you're not gaming on them, that might be a pretty good choice. Hey, I got to run. I appreciate the call. Thanks for being here, everybody. I'm out of time, but I hope you had a good day. I did, too. And I will see you next week. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Have a great geek week. Bye-bye. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, TWIT, T-W-I-T. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on Mac Break Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.